and welcome. Welcome to episode 9 of A Diary of a Wayshower, and thank you so much for tuning in today to listen to me. And if you haven't heard my other episodes, I hope you can follow listening to this one today and maybe catching up, because I explain a lot about what's happened to me in the previous episodes. Okay. So I don't know what's been on my mind this week. Just really that sense of waking up to the fact that all my life I have been abused and controlled in one way or another. Just thinking about it and thinking, has there ever been a time when I haven't been suppressed, dominated, controlled, gaslighted, managed, handled? No, not till this period now, since March 2024. Since that time, I am on my own and I can do what I want. I can go where I want, and I'm living on my own, and I'm able to make my own decisions, take the action that I feel is right for me, and there is no even subtle programming or handling going on in the background. I can just completely be myself and decide for myself what I want to do and what I don't want to do. And I don't think you really realise, do you, how much you are controlled until you walk away from a situation. You walk away from a relationship or whatever, or you were living with dominating parents or parents that, dominated you and controlled you. And then you move away and suddenly you feel like, wow, how did I put up with that? Or I didn't even realise how trapped I was or how controlled I was. It's, when you're in a situation, it's really hard, isn't it, to see how much you are controlled, because being in the thick of something, you can't see it. And also it's like a subtle drip of deeper and deeper control, isn't it? And before you know it, you are embroiled in a situation that you don't even realise you're in half the time. And wow, what a difference to not have that drama in my life, and to be able to just have a more peaceful existence. To be able to go to bed when I want and get up when I want, and I don't answer to anything or anyone, and it's a great feeling. And my God, it's taken me a long time to get to this point at 59 years old, to get to this point to realise that I am my own boss as such. And it's a great feeling, to be honest, even though at times I will be honest that I feel lonely, as I'm getting used to living on my own, with always having my sons at home and having someone else in the house and having pets as well for numbers of years, and to suddenly just be, to me, it's just me with no pets and no children and no partners. It takes a bit of getting used to, I'll tell you. Unfortunately I can't have a pet where I am here, but I really would like to have another cat if I could, or maybe a couple of cats. I love cats. I'd even consider getting a little dog, to be honest. I think they'd be a great companion, and really gives you sort of that opportunity to meet people, doesn't it? Walking dogs, and and I do love dogs as well, to be honest. More so as I've got older, actually. Matured. dogs have become a bit more important to me. So we will see in the future. Hopefully, I will end up with some cats. I mean, I can imagine being a cat lady, you know, and ending up with 7 or 8 cats or something. I don't care. I love, as I say, I just love cats. I love them. It's the Lyrian in me, because I have got a Lyrian background. So yeah, so I have my Lyrian self, my cat self. Uh, is showing itself there, I think, and I do think that people that don't like people that love cats or get on very well with cats, I'm sure they've got that affinity with the Lyrians in regards to that. So yeah, we'll see what happens. So yeah, I was just sort of looking at how subtle control can be in many ways, and how um, you know we don't even realise sometimes that we're being controlled, and people don't have to have overt narcissistic qualities or attributes for them to be able to play a game of that with you to a certain extent. I've been discovering more of that recently, really, which has been a bit of a surprise on how clever people can be about handling you or managing you without you even realizing it. So, yeah, it's quite an eye opener, really. Um, so, uh, yeah, all my life, that's all I've ever been used to. And even though I'm quite a strong person, I think most people who've met me in person would say they would think that I had it together, that I was confident, assertive, and wouldn't. I'm sure they would turn around and say, "Oh, you couldn't be controlled." I'm sure you'd see it a mile off. Well, it's interesting that if you've been brainwashed and handled since you were a child, it's almost like you don't know any different. You don't know any different, or how the world could be different. Um, Evidently, I had a strong constitution, and with things that have come out recently, I realise that I, there's things that have happened or some flashbacks I've had that have said that I was a hard one to break in my childhood brainwashing, which is not something that it's not something you take pride in, really. The fact that you're punished even worse, if you know what I'm saying, and tortured even worse for being hard to break. And I was punished for speaking out to one of the presidents of the United States. I've got that memory very specifically. And I was punished for telling him no. He wanted to introduce me to someone. And in fact, the scene is, it's sort of like in a bar. And there's children. I mean, I'm not going to remember, I would never go into deep levels of telling you about the abusive scenes and things. I would never do that, because I've traumatised myself, never mind you. We don't have to talk about that anyway. That doesn't do any survivor any good, reliving the past. We're beyond that. We can heal beyond that. But this particular memory is of there's a bar and like a cocktail bar, and tables and chairs, and there is, behind the bar, up on the wall, higher up, there are children in white cages. Can you believe that? And they're locked in the cage, and they're on the wall. And I think there must be a door from the other side of the wall that they lets them into there. And they're like on display above the bar as people are walking round. It's just disgusting. God for, I pray for those children. I really do, because I don't know what happened to them. And I'm walking around as a child in that place, and I think I probably was about 7 or 8. And yeah, I said no to him because he wanted to introduce me to an actor, and I was taken away and severely paid the price for that, to be honest. And there was other children walking around that were dressed up in outfits of like they were young women. They had lipstick on and high heels and mini skirts, and I can even see a girl who looks the image of that girl that went missing or got murdered in America. Was there Bennett? Oh God, I can't remember her name. There was a famous case, wasn't there, of a little girl, and Jamie Lee, or I can't. Do you know what? I can't tell you what her name is, but I can see an image of a little girl walking around looking like her, who is all dressed up with lipstick on and high heels and a black mini skirt, and she can only be 6, if that. Yeah, that's one specific huge memory that came in this year, actually. Um, so this stuff's real, folks. I've lived it. This stuff is real. People that don't believe that this happens, they are in cloud cuckoo land. They just can't comprehend the depths of evil on this planet, and it has to stop. Um, the children, our precious children, um, you know, are not their commodities, are not their food, are not their playthings, and they are not, they are not for sale. And we have to stop this. We have to stop this. And uh, yeah, it just has to stop. And I truly do believe that we have some amazing light warriors on this planet now doing what they can to bring this down. I know we do. I've had it confirmed. And if I get, I take my guidance from the Councils of Light and my I Am Presence. And the Councils of Light have confirmed to me that what's going on in America right now is the correct thing. It is what needs to happen. And that we're not saying that anybody's a saviour. Not by any means. No one is a saviour on this planet. We save ourselves. We are our own divine intervention. But there is a huge wrecking ball out there right now in America doing the job, shaking the world up, shaking up the leaders. I truly believe, and this is not about politics, right? Politics is a program. It's a program. When we look at the planet from a different perspective, so if we come up into galactic consciousness and we come down and look at the planet from that level, right, downwards, and then look at what's going on in the USA right now, you actually have got the outing of some of the corruption going on. We need that in the UK. We need that in Spain. We need that in France. We need that in Ireland. We need that in Canada. We need that in whatever other country you're talking about. In Australia. We need that. So, of course, America is it's interesting that they're leading the way. And this is not related to the fact that America likes to think that it's the leader of the free world or it's the most powerful nation on the planet. It's to do with the geography of the United States and the geography of the Lemurian templates, and the fact that the Lemurian power points are in the United States of America, in Hawaii, and that's very significant. So the Lemurian blueprint and template is rising rapidly. And of course, that is reflected in the United States, where the overthrow of the sort of infiltration is taking place right now. And that's exactly what needs to happen because of the Lemurian template rising up on the American continent. So that is the energy actually coming up first there and actually starting to make a difference. And I truly believe that. And, I'm not, as I say, no one person is a saviour by no means, but you can't tell me that that person is not doing what they need to do to start breaking apart the control structures on this planet, and it's working. So they're doing something right, and we will see how it pans out. But we certainly need that where I am in the UK. But there is a prophecy that says that the rising of America will be the downfall of the UK, of England. And that's a prophecy going back hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. And it relates to the founders of America when it was first founded and discovered, shall we say. And there definitely is some movement there, and that's a good thing. And we want to see that also, don't we, in the United Kingdom, where I am. And remember that we're part of that triad of power between London City, Vatican City, and Washington State and Washington City. That triad, that pyramid of power, has to come down. And of course, Washington will be being hit hard now, and then we'll see what happens with the Vatican. It's interesting. We've got an American president now. We've got an American Pope now. That's interesting. And we'll see what happens to the UK. But it all has to happen. It's part of the divine plan, isn't it? We can't build on shaky foundations. We have to dig those foundations up and create new ones that are not tainted or affected in any way or effected in any way. We have to build new foundations that are firm and are of pure light divine and source divine, and are the greatest strength, so that we can build up from the foundations upwards a new way. So yeah, really interesting to see what's going on in the world right now. I've come like full circle, I've never where I started, but based on what I was talking about of my experience as a child, and that's just one of them. There are many that are buried and locked away, actually, and I'm not going to go digging for them. That I don't think is appropriate for me to do that. With anyone who's recovering memories, you let it happen naturally, organically. You let your own body and your mind and your soul release in the time it needs to release. And I don't need to have all the memories, because that would be traumatic in itself, of the things that are more horrible than that. So I'm grateful actually that my I Am Presence knows that is, I can only be drip fed certain things at certain times that allow me to integrate and move on. And to be honest, I have seen many people who are survivors of mind control and all of the other things that go with it, that are in terrible mental states, and their mental and emotional body is absolutely like a battlefield, and they have got their memories and they're in full recall. And I uh, I think there is a deliberate way. It's interesting how I have woken up and how I've done it. It seems to be that I've done it the other way around. It's like also, yeah, the memories do liberate you, of course, but it's almost like I can, I've got to a certain point where I now can access certain memories, but it doesn't have to consume me. And that's what I've seen in people, when I've dealt with people. Some people have been not even be able to function because of the memories. And they are haunted by them over and over again. And so I really feel that the way that, I'm evidently handling it, it's the better solution of an occasional snippet comes through. I gain it, I get it, but I can handle it because it's drip fed. And because it just would consume you. And I do feel for those that don't feel that they can get rid of those memories. But there are ways because there's certain therapies, isn't there, where you can go and get your memory. I don't know, there's some sort of technique where you turn your memories from full colour into black and white, don't you? There's something, I can't remember what the technique is, but I've seen that before with someone, that where you can if you've got a traumatic memory, you can bring the memory. I think it was Paul McKenna. It could have been Paul McKenna, where you can bring if the memory's there and it won't go away, you sort of replay it, but you turn it into black and white, and then you change the memory if you want. So you know the memory and what it's saying, but then you can almost like change the memory, go in and change it. I once had a client who had a memory of a school teacher scolding her in front of everybody else in class and humiliating her to the point where she couldn't, it sort of did lasting damage to her, and she couldn't study at school. She ended up getting she ended up getting a degree in her 50s after that, just to prove that, she had the brain. Anyway, I remember doing a session with her and she was talking about it, and she was saying it's still there, it still plays, it still haunts me. And so I said we went into the memory and we turned it black and white. And then I told her to walk in, and as he started to berate her and show her up, I asked her to walk in as an adult. So she walked in as an adult, and she picked her little girl up in her arms, right? And then she stood in front of him. And as he's starting to have a go at the little girl, she then speaks up and puts her hand up and goes, "Hold on a minute." And he stops, right? And then she speaks to him and says, "Don't ever talk to me like that again. Don't ever, ever, ever speak down to me like that again. Don't ever do that to any other child again." And I told her to say to him, "And I'm sending back all the burden of the shame and the guilt and the suffering that you have placed upon me by your behaviour, and I'm sending it back to you." Right? Now that's not attacking him. What you're doing is you're saying all of the energy, because everything is energy. Words are energy. Words are spells. Words are incantations. So he was spelling her and incantating her without realising, and saying to her, "You will always fail. You will always do badly. You will always suffer," right? Because you're thick, and you da 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 and da da da. And we got her to turn around to him and say, "I'm sending back all of that energy you've just placed upon me, and you will take it back. And I refuse to carry it or own it in any way." Now that's incredibly powerful. Try doing that, because I've done that with certain scenes as well. And it really, really does help, because you're taking control of something that occurred to you. And we can all time travel. And you can just go into the scene and change it. And then suddenly you have corrected what was done. And she said afterwards that she felt so much better. And she could actually think about that without getting upset now. And almost feel empowered because she'd spoken back to him. And she stood there with herself as an adult, but holding her inner child, literally, and saying, no, we won't take this, we won't accept this. No, no, no. And just try that. That might be something that might help you with a scene that is stuck in your head that makes you upset every time you think about it, and it breaks your heart, but you can't stop replaying it. Try changing the outcome in your favour. You're not doing anything wrong. If that helps you and your emotional and mental body to deal with it, try it. Replaying the scene and changing what the outcome is. That's interesting because that's something that we do in the Quantum Bridge training, because we can reverse the results of that. And I'm not going to say the word because the algorithms will pick this up. So I'm talking about the things that you put in your arm from 2020 and 2021 that are still going on now, and they call them bees. Yeah, and people go every year and renew them, and it's causing a lot of deaths in the world right now. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Well, we can go back to the point of anybody who has had it. We can go back to the time when they had it, and we can reverse it. And so from the time when they're just about to have it, we can reverse it and change it into a different substance, if you get my feeling and meaning. And we can also then do a contract breaker to reverse the damage, reverse the contract, and take the energy out of the light body and physical body. Yeah, that is entirely possible. So you see, we're more powerful than you think. Your mind is more powerful than you think. And that's what I do. That's how I use my mind to overcome what has happened to me, and overcome the abuse that I've suffered and everything else, because I've taken control back. I'm in control, not them. They don't control me. I control me. I can control how I react to what's happened to me. And I do have my low days. Everybody does, especially when you've, this level of what I've been through, and many others too. It can overwhelm you. But I have healed a lot of my emotional body now, mental body, so I'm more stable, and I'm able to, if something comes up where I feel there might be a problem, I can handle it. I can sit down, I can go in and think, how can I sort this? How can I correct this? And then you feel in charge. You feel in charge. It's not the emotions or the feelings running you, or the situation that happened to you. You are in charge of it. So that might just help someone who's listening right now that is struggling with maybe a situation or a scene that happened, I don't know, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. It could have happened a long time ago, and it's still replaying with you. It's time to change that. It's time to change that. And you can take charge and do it as well. So that's just something to think about, and the ways I manage myself, really. I use a journal. I journaled a lot last year when I had all of those immense feelings, and I felt out of control. Everything was out of control. I had no control over hardly anything. I was feeling a little bit, to be honest, I was a little bit in fear. Of course I would be after having to run, literally, and thinking they're following me and this and that, and are they watching me, and da da da, and is he going to come and try and find me? And he did actually once. I've got proof of that. But whatever, it's sort of that energy that can suppress you. And I ended up just journaling piles and piles of stuff. It really helped to get my anger, because I was angry, my anger and my feeling of helplessness, of feeling like I couldn't control anything, of why is this happening to me, all of those things that go through you when you're going through a huge emotional crisis, and life crisis, and you just don't know what you're going to do. So journaling can really help, and I always do that now. I journal most days. Some days I don't. I can have 2 or 3 days where I may just not get into journaling, and then I'll go right back into it, and I'll journal for a good few days, or catch up with what has been happening to me, and I get it down on paper, and it feels so much better to write it down. And so many things happen, especially when I'm channeling and I get downloads and visions and things, that if I don't write them down, I'll forget them properly. So that's why I have to write them down, because so many things happen that if you don't write them down, you just start to forget, and things merge into one, and you can get mixed up. So I journal for that reason as well, actually. And it makes me feel so much better. And I tell you another thing, that for me, this could just be personally for me, but I love to be in like a harmonious setting. I think it's the Venus energy within me, and the Hathor energy within me, that I have to be in a surrounding that is harmonious and is spiritually in alignment with me. Otherwise, I feel very uncomfortable and I can't settle. So like, I have to make sure that the right colours are surrounding me. I have to make sure that I've got candles. I have to make sure I've got plants around me. I love loads of green plants around me. I have to make sure I've got some crystals, and flowers, and just items that bring me a sense of peace, and a feeling of being with the divine. Like I've got an angel on my, I've got a big coffee table in front of me. It was actually in the place when I came in. So I just decided to use it as a big table, as an altar. So, like I've got my Venus grid in the middle of it, and I've got a big bunch of roses to the left, and I've got my big central crystal in the middle, my master crystal, and I've got like, little things that just bring me joy, those glimmers of joy that we all need. I've got candles, I've got amethyst crystals, and an amethyst crystal heart, every just things that are personal to me but mean a lot. I've got some family photos to the right of that with a lovely stone saying believe, just believe. You know what I mean? Just things that, I've got my crystal singing bowl on display, with a big like pearl shell dish behind it, reminding me of Aphrodite and the Great White Brotherhood and stuff. And so that all like brings me joy. It brings me into a vibration of my spirituality, which is my true self. The spirituality, the divine, is me, isn't it? It's core authentic you. So my core authentic self needs those reminders, or wants those reminders. Doesn't need them. If you can't have them with you, you can't have them with you. But I choose to have them in this space and place that's mine, and the right colours, and it just, as I say, it makes all the difference to me to have those things around me. And I love to have an altar, because I feel the power of that altar, and it gets lit when I'm working. It's lit now, actually. It's burning now. I've got 3 candles going actually on my altar. I had incense going about an hour ago. Um, and it's just peaceful, and that energy of that altar builds up. We're not worshipping. We're not worshipping. Like statues and stuff. It's nothing to do with that. It's. I'm reminding myself of my inner sanctum, of my divine space within, uh, and I choose to have that as a reminder visually for me of my divinity, of my divine self, and it does, it just calms the space for me. And then sometimes if like I'm working with clients, I've got connections to my clients on that altar quite often. Sometimes if I'm doing a container of people, I'll put all their names on that altar if I want to. I used to do that a lot in the past. I don't do that as often now. Um, and as I say, I've just got things that are pertinent to what I'm working on right now. And, as I say, I think it's really important. And I used to tell people to do empowerment altars. Put a picture of yourself, a favourite picture of yourself on an altar and put it in the centre. And then to put some objects that really remind you of beauty and divinity and good times. And that, I think, is a really powerful thing to do. And light a candle for yourself every day, or when you're meditating, burning incense on there. It's like a focal point for the home, and I have it in the centre of my living room, on the wall, by the window, and it's a really central, like, power point. And sometimes I clean it out and move it round. Normally about every 4 or 5 weeks, I'll just wake up one day, I'll come in, and I know I have to change it. Like, I need to change the altar. I'll take everything off, clean it, wipe it, wash it, cleanse it maybe with one of my crystal sprays. I'll then reset it up all over again in a slightly different place, somewhere that is different, that I need to do it with. And there you go. That's how I use it. And as I say, I find it very powerful, and it focuses me because I'm looking at it all the time. Like, because I'm sat here now looking at it, and it's central. I can see it, and it focuses me as well. So yeah, I just thought I'd mention that because sometimes people don't really do altars nowadays, but I've always had an altar. I think it's really important. Well, for me it is anyway. Personally, it's important for me. So if you haven't got one and you want to try putting one up, just try it and see whether you feel it gives you peace. For me, it gives me a sense of inner peace. Yeah, it's that inner peace, and like sat here, nothing on, what I mean is that, I've no other distractions, and I can just read a book or just sit here and contemplate whatever I want to do, and it's there, and it's with me and giving me that sense of peace. And of course I use my own grids on there because I make grids, don't I? So I've got my Venus grid running at the minute, anyway, for the Venus container for my membership, and I've got an Avalon grid on there, so the Heart of Avalon grid for Glastonbury, and that's very important, my Glastonbury grid at the minute, due to the retreat I'm running in July. But it feels important that I'm running that grid, so that's why I've got that running as well. So I've got 2 different grids, and actually my third grid is sat in a nice, beautiful, lit up alcove, and it's my Lourdes grid, and that's running, and it's got my family pictures on of my 2 children and their partners, and myself and them as children, with loads of rose quartz. And I'm deliberately that grid is running now for family dynamics, family love, family unity, and I'm shoring my sons up. Really, that's what I'm doing, or that's my intention. I'm keeping that family unit very tight and supported. So I've got the frequencies of Lourdes healing chambers and of course the cosmic divine mother running through that grid, and I've got rose quartz everywhere on, and the rose quartz is by the pictures, and yeah, I've always done that and I know it works, so I'm running that constantly, and that's important. I keep that running, I feel. So yeah, so that's a little thing about what I do with the grids, really, and they are important, and as I say, crystalline grids and working with the crystalline consciousness is so important. And in our everyday lives, we can get sucked into the 3D dross of life. Try and remember that, yeah, like to take that. It's almost like swap it on its head and make your spiritual life the normal. Like some people, they sort of like they'll go to their spiritual workshops once a week, or their Reiki share or whatever. They get home and then they just go into 3D mode for the rest of the week. I'm not saying I'm just I'm just saying it's difficult if you're working, and then you sort of, before you know it, 4 days or 5 days are gone, and you're still in that rat race. But we're not meant to be in that rat race. Remember that, yeah? We're divine beings, and I do think a lot of depression and sort of things that we go through are linked to that, because we're too busy trying to conform and be in this life. But this is not real life. This isn't us. We're in a simulated reality, and our divine selves are the real selves. And the more we connect to our divine selves and do the divine routines and rituals, the more you find your core authentic self. And then you can deal with the dross of everyday life. You can deal with the 3D dramas. You can deal with people that don't believe in what you believe in. And you can wander out and do what you have to do. But your core stable self is divine, and you can handle anything. It's making time to do these things, and not like, oh, I forgot, because it's like meditation. It has to be part of your everyday life. Shielding and grounding has to be part of your everyday life. Giving gratitude and spending that 5-10 minutes in contemplation and being has got to be part of your everyday life. The more you bring it into your everyday life, the more you will ground it and anchor it as normal. Do you see what I'm getting at? And lots of you, I hope I'm not teaching you to suck eggs, as we say in the UK, meaning I'm teaching you something that you know already anyway. I'm not teaching you anything. I'm just talking and just saying that for me, this has been probably one of the core things that's held me together. Even when I was going through that terrible thing last April, where I just, well, I, I can't tell you what state I was in. I was in fragments, basically. I was, I, you know, I can remember me sat there with a crystal, holding it and going into my heart, and trying to speak to my inner wise self, which I actually managed to do, and keeping that practice up every day. Every day I went in and spoke and held that daily ritual, because it helped me get through those terrible times, and that's what gets us through these outer dramas, these stories that are running in our reality that are just stories. You know, that's something we need to think about. They're just stories. We have to rise above that. We're more than a story. We're a divine, eternal being of light, having a human experience here because we agreed to be here to anchor, to heal and transmute. And it is bloody hard. I'm not saying it isn't. Oh God, do I know how hard it is. But, if I can do it, you can do it. But we have to hold our divine self and treasure it and make no concessions for anything else. It has to be your divine self first. Like, yeah, I have to keep this relationship. I have to preserve it and put it at the very top of my priorities in life. Yeah, your divine self is the top. That's really weird then. As I said that, your divine self is the priority, a sprinkling of like diamond light came down in front of my eyes. That was gorgeous. Just quickly, and then it disappeared really fast, just in a blink of an eye. But yeah, your divine self and that relationship with your divine self is the most important thing. Yeah, because that's the relationship you have for eternity, not just for 10 minutes, not just for 10 years. Yeah, you know what I'm saying, don't you? So I'm going to wrap it up now, and I hope that you've just enjoyed me rambling on. I hope something out of this episode of me talking away has helped you in some way. And, keep going. I'm sending you my love. This world is, we know what's going on out there right now. And just please be in that space of empowerment that this is happening for us, not to us. It's happening for us. There is something magical going on out there right now, which is there is a showing of the truth, the authentic truth. And that is, we have to applaud, because we have been waiting for so long, haven't we, for this to happen. And finally, we have got some movement. Something really is moving, and that is good to see. It has to happen. So thank you so much for listening, and thank you for supporting me. If you'd like this, subscribe and share it if you want to. And thank you again for listening. Till next time, and bye for now.